give us a tour, but you can take pictures. Take a few minutes to take pictures, and then after that we will move up to go with Dr. Morales.
Did any of the ruins, temple ruins, strike you in particular that you visited? Like, do you remember when they were built and who built them?
Well, the most awesome one, I think, was the statue of Ramses the Second, the Temple of Ramses the Second, where there's, I think there's 4 statues of Ramses and standing on, that was carved out of the mountain.
There's 2 temples. The huge one is the Temple of Ramses, but outside the temple there are these huge statues, and they were meant to blow people away, to really astonish people and to let people know what a great person he was. So they were meant to impress, and they really do, because they're just huge.
This was the boundary of Egypt, and it still is. Just 20 minutes driving will be in the next country from here, which is Sudan. Then geographically, this always with the beginning of Egypt. And King Ramses the Second, when he built that gigantic monument behind me, he didn't build it, he cut it out of a mountain. Then this is one of the great miracles of this civilization. Those people could do everything. Then he came to the mountain which was called the mountain of the purification, the pure mountain of this land, and he made this big sign to really tell everybody coming from the south, behold, you are now in the land of the greatest civilization which ever appeared in the history of this earth. And you can see it by yourself, even after thousands of years. We still arrive, look at it, and overwhelmed, really, completely shocked by this civilization. Apology to every one of you, but really, he couldn't help it. Then he left early. Then, sorry for that, but I'll try to do my best to be the same level like that. Here you see the army and 2 people. Can you see them? On their knees, and the Egyptians with their sticks are beating them. Even the faces are not Egyptian at all, or Africans. Those are people from the area of Asia or Middle East, like Turkey nowadays, and Syria and Lebanon. Then after that they have been taken to the king up there. See that? And in front of the king they told that story. Then this is written here on the top. Then the king took his army and he went up. Can you see the line on the top? And if you go higher, there are 2 lines parallel together. Can you see them? Like railway road. As a fact, this is the road which is leading to the capital of the Hittite tribes. If you follow it, you will come to a big circle here. Yes, the temple was the house of the god. Then when people could see the god, when the priests were carrying the statues of the god out, how they carried them, they put them in boat, represents the solar boat, and the shrine on the boat, like the one you did see in Edfu, if you still remember. And then it was carried in processions out, or coming back in. Then you can see 2 of these pictures of carrying the statues of the god out by the priests, and the king is burning in front of them the incense. The first picture here or there is the king and his wife, the queen Nefertari, were burning this incense in front of the gods. I refresh your memory again, incense were very important because they carry the food, the material food, to be spiritual food and go up to the god to eat. Then they always had this cup in their hands and they were moving it right and left. You see the stick in his hand here, or the stick in his hand there, which was used for doing it. The other columns and other pictures, always you see a relationship between the king and the Egyptian gods, different gods. Then he is doing these offerings, he is building this temple, he is receiving his rewards from the gods. Like, for example, this picture there, see it? The god Ammon, is giving him long life. Can you see the sign of life? The ant is going to his nose to live forever. One of these pictures is here, and the other side you see the god Ra or Raki, which is the sun. This is giving him in his hand something like a curved stick, which was the years of eternity to live. Then always the relationship between the king and the god is giving and receiving. I'll give you, or I'll build you a temple, I'll give you this offerings, I pay this incense, then I receive long life, power, the holy soul for the wars and all such things. When we go inside, it's maybe the only time you see the statues of the god inside the Holy of the Holies.
I thought it was striking that they had calculated that when you go back into the temple, there's a sacred room where they have 4 statues, and at one time or 1 or 2 times during the year, the sun comes through the front door and it illuminates the statue, this one particular statue, and it only does it 2 times a year. And I thought that was really something that they could calculate so well that they could build it that way. In fact, when they moved the statue, they weren't able to, with all the electronic and all the stuff that people have today, they weren't able to put it the way it was, because it's off a little bit and it's not as exact as it was when it was originally. So I thought that was really quite an achievement.
Then Ramses the Second, when he built it, he gathered all the cults who appeared in this country together in the tomb. Then the room is showing us now the god Ra-Horakhti, the god Ra, so of this, and the god Amun of the New Kingdom, and this destroyed head was the god Ptah of the Old Kingdom, the 3 big cults. Then he put himself in between them, and you can see his name is kept in the 2 cartouches here. As you know, every pharaoh carried 5 names in 5 cartouches. Then 2 of them are here. And this was the statue which had only the spotlight twice a year, as I told you, coming here for a few really minutes. And then the sun is rising up, then that light was going to disappear. This one, Ramses the Second.
The one right next to
The second one from the right.
Okay.
Okay? Can you see my light? This one.
Yes, yeah, that's the problem.
Now here you see her, and she is very important. Then she is not smaller than him at all. She is the lady between his steps. This temple was dedicated to the goddess Hathor. You know the goddess Hathor, who protected Horus, and the king supposed to be Horus himself. You understand that now very well. And he married Hathor. Then his wife is Hathor. And the king is the alive image of Horus. Then all
Next door to the Temple of Ramses is the Temple of Nefertari, and Nefertari was his favorite wife. And the colors in there are just spectacular. And that was the temple that I told you had really beautiful art in it. But they also had a mouse problem. And the mice, you know, because in the desert they have a lot of mice. And I was getting a little nervous because I didn't want the mice running over my feet, because we were in there at nighttime. But I found that temple absolutely gorgeous.
Look at it now, and I just heard the word, the evil god. As a fact, after about more than a week together, talking, seeing the monuments, you can understand me better now if I said he wasn't that absolute word evil. Because the Egyptian believed of the balance between good and bad. Then always there is good and there is bad. Fine? Then when they had the principles of the God, like we do today, for example, we can say God is the merciful. That's right. And we can say God is the sustainer. That's right. We can say God is the one who forgives. That's right. But also God is the vindicator. Okay, God is the killer who kills on the time of the death. You understand me? God is the destroyer because he destroys when he wants to destroy. That's right. Then all these aspects in one God. Egyptian separated. They made the soft, nice ones Osiris. They made the powerful one is Set. Then Set was need. It was needed really. Even they didn't like it. They didn't like the war. But the war caused by the God. You understand me? They didn't like killing. But killing was caused by the God. Then he was worshipped because they needed his power, for example, in the war. They want to kill the enemies, then they want him because he is the killer, he is the destroyer. You got this idea. Now you can understand it. In the beginning, if I said so, you will never get it. But now you can understand. That's him. The one with the ant-eater and two strange ears there in front of you. And this picture, look at him, Set. And look at the one behind the king, Horus, with the double crown. Horus and Set were always enemies. That's right. And fighting each other, the uncle and the nephew. You know the story. The other two, you know? Fine. Now the two enemies are blessing the king, and both of them are not enemies in his reign, fixing the double crown on the top of his head. That means no more civil war between the Egyptians, and all of them, these two enemies are friends now, and everything is in peace. المشكلة إن هو هنا الترجمة الملكة الإله. And this is the way they were cutting each of the blocks and how they moved it. When they did so, they couldn't move the whole mountain, but they moved only the temple from the mountain. And the temple was cut out of the mountain.
What they had done is taken the mountain apart, taken the statue apart, sliced it up and moved it up out of the floodplain because that area was flooded to make room for the Aswan Dam. So back in the 50s, I guess, the kids all over the country, all over the world had donated money for them to take the statue, slice it up into slabs, and then move it up to higher ground. And then what they did is they created a cement type of mountain to simulate the mountain that it used to be. And it's really quite an awesome sight to see it even now.
They made a cement concrete half dome. You see it now? By the size of the mountain.
Oh my God.
And they dressed from outside the rocks to give you that, oh my God, this is the mount, but it is not. The actual temple is there. It was completely shielded by this concrete. In case of any earthquake, any problem, any atomic bomb, this temple can be protected. And this is the facade. That means you are now facing the back of the statues. And then that room is the Holy of the Holies at the end there. Then you see now the miracle of modern time making that huge building.
But originally it was one big rock that they
One
cut out
mountain.
of.